The T57 Heavy is an American Tier 10 autoloading heavy tank, and the T77 is the 57 Heavy's little brother. Instead of carrying 3 shells, it carries 2 shells with a 2.5 second interclip, and both of the shells are able to deal 380 damage for a whopping 760 potential damage in an incredibly short 2.5 seconds. The T77 boasts a decent top speed of 35, a very solid power to weight, and unlike most American heavy tanks, a great reverse speed of 18 kilometers per hour. Also carrying in at 10 degrees of gun depression and actually pretty decent turn armor, the T77 is not a tank to be messed with. In today's video, I'll be doing a full down review, letting you know everything you need to when it comes to the armor, how to play this tank, and overall what it's like. Keeping it simple, let's take a look at the statistics to begin with on the T77, starting off with the gun. Its dispersion is 0.344 with an aiming time of 4 seconds. Not great, but also not bad either. I would say that as long as you let the gun aim in, it hits the majority of its shells. DPM is quite average for a tier 8 heavy at 2076, nothing great but nothing bad. However, since this is an autoloader, I would actually say that the DPM is a little bit higher for your average tier 8 autoloading heavy. The magazine reload is quite long though at 19.47 seconds, and that is because this vehicle only carries a 2 shell gun, dealing 380 damage with both shells, so 760 in total with only a 2.5 second interclip. Now, burst guns have massive advantages over their 3 shell counterparts. The Emil 1, for example, takes 6 seconds to deal 900 damage, which is great damage, and it's got, a great gun, but the problem with the Emil is you got to expose your tank for a longer time. And against tier 8s and 7s, sure, your armor might be amazing, but up against tier 9s, when they can butter through you, sitting out in the open gives the enemy the opportunity to take advantage of your tank. In the T77, you just shoot 1 or 2 shells and boom, you're back in the cover immediately, starting to reload your vehicle. Not to mention, the T77 also has very beefy alpha with both of its shells, meaning that even if you miss one of your shots, penning just one more is still dealing a whopping 380 damage, which is only 20 less than your average IS series vehicle. So overall, the gun on the T77 is fantastic. It's got plenty of pen at 232 on the standard, 274 on the premium, and 55 millimeters on the HE. And oh boy, if you can get these HEs to connect, you're going to be dealing 880 damage in a single clip. Not to mention, the T77 does carry 10 degrees of gun depression, making it basically flexible on any ridgeline you're going to use it. When it comes to mobility, I wouldn't say the T77 is necessarily fast or slow. It's got a pretty average speed of 35, but thankfully it is able to have a very nice power to weight ratio of around 17, so it gets up to top speed, just not the fastest of tanks overall. On reverse speed, however, it's great. 18 kilometers per hour. For example, if we were to make our way over to the American tech tree and look at the 57 Heavy, only reverses at 12. If we were to take a look at the T110E5, it only reverses at 12. Even the T110 E3 or E4 also go at 10 kilometers per hour in reverse. So the T77 has a great reverse speed, which makes it fantastic to clip and dip, especially with your very fast interclip as it is. So let's make our way over to the armor and see how the profile does work on this vehicle. So in front of you is an Emil 1 aiming with calibrated shells and standard ammunition at the T77. And it's actually not bad on the armor. It's not great, but it's also somewhat troll. The upper plate's quite strong. It's upwards of 230 millimeters thick, which means that any tier 7s are going to struggle to pen your upper plate or just flat out bounce it. And even tier 8s, if you're using just a couple degrees of gun depression, let's say like 6 with premium, you're going to have no chance of penning that upper plate whatsoever, as it's over 300 millimeters thick. So yeah, the upper plate is not bad. As long as you use this tank slightly hull down, you'll be fine. And when it comes to the turret armor, the roof, very thick, over 270 millimeters. You're going to have a hard time penetrating that roof. It does have a hatch, but from experience, that hatch is really not the spot you're going to shoot at. It's these turret cheeks right here that are around 200 millimeters thick. If you're in a tier 7, let's say you're in a 45 TP, yeah, good luck penning this tank. I mean, the entire turret is red. You're going to have to load premium, and even then, it's a bit tricky to actually penetrate this tank's turret as it's around 200 millimeters thick. You can see it's a pretty troll tank. But if you do have a tier 8 heavy, most tier 8 heavies are going to penetrate this tank. But if you do end up hitting the roof, around the gun mantlet, or the edges, you're going to bounce. So I would say this is an incredibly troll tank. Its armor's not not necessarily reliable, but you will get a lot of bounces here and there. Now, side armor-wise, it's not great. You can see even at this angle here, it's only about 190, and once you overturn it, yeah. The tank has almost no side armor. It's 100 millimeters, though, which means that you can't HE it on the sides, and when it comes to the rear as well, it's around 70 millimeters thick, so you can HE it with 150s, but apart from that, it's actually thick enough to bounce a lot of HE shells, especially because of its angle. So T77 armor-wise is not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. You can get a couple bounces here and there, but you definitely should not rely on your armor profile. Depending on when you are watching this review, maybe a couple months in the future, the T77 might be sold for a different price. But right now, the vehicle is available for 17,500 gold or 20,000 if you want to get it fully equipped with the camouflage. There were a lot of people complaining on my live stream earlier today that this tank is quote-unquote too expensive for what it is. And I honestly am disappointed. Not in the tank, but in the community. This is the first time Wargaming has sold a tank without crates for a very, very long time. And the first thing people do is they jump on the bandwagon of saying this tank is too expensive. Honestly, that's sad. Wargaming should just put tanks in crates at that point if half the people think that this vehicle is too expensive, because then you'll have to gamble 40, 50,000 gold on crates. I don't understand that. 17,500 gold is honestly not even a bad price tag for this vehicle, especially if you get that $20 gold crate that pops up every now and then. That gives you pretty decent chunk of gold as well. You probably get the tank for 25 bucks. I personally am happy Wargaming is not selling it in crates, and you should be too. Even if it is a bit expensive, it will come out cheaper, and get it for cheaper when it does come out. For example, the Skoda T56 was sold when it originally came out in crates, but now you can get it for 12,500 gold. This is an incredibly powerful tank. Same for the 77. Wait for it to come out cheaper. It will become cheaper. Stop complaining about it not being in crates now. With all that aside, let's get into our first replay and showcase how this tank does perform. Now, statistically right now, I am going 70-ish% in this vehicle with 3,300 average damage, and it's not like I haven't played a fair few amount of battles. I've played around 20 games in the tank, so I've played a lot of battles in the vehicle, and I'm still averaging over 3,000 damage. I mean, 3,300 average damage is tier 10 levels. In fact, most players in tier 10 don't average that much. So the fact that I am going way above tier 10 levels of damage in a tier 8 heavy says really everything I need to. I believe that this is just another Barask on the skin of a heavy. I personally also believe that this is an overpowered vehicle. There are many YouTubers that are going to make different reviews on the tank. I'm not sure what Pantoof is going to say. I'm not sure what Meadsy's going to say, as I haven't looked at their reviews. But what I can say is that this is an overpowered vehicle. Just like when the Barask came out and all the YouTubers said the tank wasn't that great, and then, wow, it's the #1 performing vehicle, this is the exact same feeling I have for this tank. For people that don't think it's going to be insane now, wait until the numbers show, because I feel that this is going to be an insane performance vehicle. So we got the Glacial off to the side, and, oh, Glacial just fired, nice, so as soon as he shoots, I'm gonna pull out. I wasn't sure if he shot 100%, but I just went for it at this point. We got the Amex AC-48 in front of me, and let's just see what we can do to his vehicle. So, Cheery is going to hopefully pen him, there you go, nice pens. We're gonna get one shell into his tank, and dead. There you go, that's 1,300 damage. We've already been able to pick up with 2 clips in this battle, but I wouldn't showcase a battle unless we did pretty good. So just wait until you see what the T77 is capable with this 2-shot gun. The really nice thing about the gun is that it's just very quick to get the shells out. If you don't have the opportunity to get the second shell out, you've really just put yourself in a bad situation, because you only need 2.5 seconds. So for example, I see this Leo. I'm going to come right up behind him, and here we are. I'm going to aim in an HE on his side. 466 damage, and there you go, he's dead. I mean, that's it. We're up to 2,000 damage dealt now, and I mean, 15 more seconds, we'll get out another 2 shells. And that's really just all you do in this tank. You just farm damage. It just reminds me of a T57 Heavy at tier 10, where really all you do is get out big chunks of damage. Sure, might not be the most influential tank, but just the amount of damage that this thing can output. 415 damage in that shell, 475 in that shell, and we even bounced a premium shell from the T34. With that, we're up to 2,800 damage dealt, and I mean, this is going pretty well so far. All that's left is Ipro Jetto off to the side, and yeah, I should be able to get some good damage in this game. So the enemy team is basically dead at this point. The T34 is a one-shot. The FE301's all the way to the other side of the map, so I know that's a waste of my time. And this Progetto might not understand what my tank's capable of doing, because he pokes me and loses 700 health. I just want to point out, that was a full health Progetto. Now the dude is less than half health. That's insane. If you ran these tanks in double platoon, you could easily full clip any medium that tried rushing you. And two of them, what? It's 780 alpha, so multiply 780 times 2, that's 1400. Or actually it's 760, so then you add another 120, so it's 1520 damage you're able to output in a double platoon with these in 2.5 seconds. 1500 damage. That would literally almost clear any tier 7 heavy, and against any tier 8 heavy, I mean, you'd make them a cripple. They'd be 400 health. So this battle here, we were able to deal 4,257 damage. Pretty easy game. Was able to just showcase why this tank is so insane at farming damage. So obviously we pulled out a victory after that result, and not only did we pull out a victory, but we were able to get one of those golden M's. Thankfully not a McDonald's golden M. So there you go, 4,000 damage dealt, and yeah, I mean, the tank's just insane. Let's showcase one more battle. Now the craziest part about these two games were these were the first two battles that I actually played in the tank. So, I mean, yeah, it's just funny how that ended up working out. This is actually the first battle I played in the vehicle, and this one's obviously on Hellas. Now, the enemy team has a 112 Glacial, a 53 TP, IS-3, and a KV-4, and you're going to see just how much I absolutely bully them. I also got to say, I really do like the camouflage on this tank. It just looks amazing. The PBR is great on this vehicle, and the camouflage, I actually think Wargaming did a fantastic job on this tank. I am very surprised they did not end up selling it in crates for the first release, because this is the kind of tank that I would have expected to be sold in crates. But, you know what, good on Wargaming for not selling it in crates. So let's push up to base B. There is the 112 Glacial. I was going to shoot, but it's more important for me to get in a position. Then I can aim it on a vehicle like this 53 TP, get one shell into his track wheel, 2 shells, and there you go. That's 812 damage. Just think about that. That's insane. 800 damage. That guy had no chance. Just 2 shots into the track wheel. You can see the pen's fantastic on the tank. Its aiming time, as I said, it's not great. Neither is the accuracy, but if you let it aim in, quite easily you're going to hit most of your shots. So we saw that Glacial pushing off to the side, and you're going to see here that I'm just going to back up and get 2 shells into him. Even if I get shot by this Glacial, it really doesn't matter to me. So here we go. Let's go for 1 shell into the Glacial and 2 shells. So both of my shells roll higher than his 1 shot on me. We've dealt 1,600 damage now in 2 clips. I mean, that's ridiculous. So again, just reloading. 8 more seconds left, and then we'll be ready to dunk more hit points off of the enemy team. Glacial, I don't even know what he was doing, to be real. That guy definitely played like an absolute poob. But that's fine. We have spotted nobody over towards base A, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back up and aim it on the IS-3. There's 1 shell into the IS-3 and 2 shells. Now we just pull forwards. There you go. Now we're up to 2,300 damage. I mean, you can see why I think that this tank is pretty dang busted. It doesn't take much effort to get out the damage, and really just one player not knowing what they're doing instantly is losing almost all of their health. Here's a T78 prototype. 2 more seconds, and there's 1 shell into his tank, and there is 2 shells into his tank. Dead. Okay, no more T28 prototype. 2,900 damage dealt so far. Well, we just got 14 more seconds left on our clip reload, and we'll be ready to dunk more shells into the enemy team. Okay, so we know that they have an IS-3 over here. We know they got the 53 TP and the KV-4. Okay, well, 3 more seconds left, and we should be able to get some damage out. We're aiming it on the KV-4. Let's shoot 1 into his track, and let's get 2 in his track. There you go, 875 damage and 2 shells, once again, with a little bit of a help from a fire there. And yeah, I mean, I can even skip ahead here so we can just watch the final 2 shots. There's 1 into the KV-4, and because I like getting damage out, I ignored him and shot the IS-3. So 4,300 damage plus the fire was 4,500. I mean, just what a dumb take. What a dumb take. I think that this is a great vehicle. The fact that it's not being sold in crates is even more amazing. And yeah, I would definitely suggest that if you're the kind of player that enjoys this playstyle, maybe to actually think about picking it up. I think that this is a pretty decent price tag for a tank like this. Now, 20,000 gold is still expensive, but if you have gold lying around, I don't think it's bad. But other than that, I would suggest to wait for it to get cheaper. But yeah. Hopefully enjoyed today's video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Let me know what you guys think about the tank in the comments down below as well, and hopefully enjoyed this full down review. Bye-bye.